Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. Hope you're ready for another great day of online learning. I hope you had a great weekend with your family. Today, I'm going to read you the last two chapters of Magic Treehouse number 26. And I do have my little reading buddy here. Oh, she's sleepy and ready for a nap. So, Kalia, say hi. Say, I can't wait to hear the story. So, let's go ahead with chapter 9. Chapter 9 is called Goodbye, Gorillas. Jack couldn't stop smiling. He had scared off a leopard. Remember when he had got down on his hands and knees and scared away the leopard? Boo Boo and Ho Ho stared at Jack with awe, and Annie looked at him with awe too. When did you learn to do that? Asked Annie. But before Jack could answer, he heard a rustling in the brush. Then Big Guy stepped out from the shrubs. The giant gorilla walked silently over to Annie. He took Little Guy from her and put the baby on his back. Then he touched Annie's cheek gently. Annie grinned at him. Boo Boo and Ho Ho ran to Big Guy and clung to his legs. The giant gorilla barked at all the small ones, directing them to come with him. As he walked past Jack, Big Guy stopped. Ho, 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 he said with a low voice. He reached out toward Jack. Jack ducked, but the silverback patted him on the head. Then he and the small gorillas moved out of sight. Jack felt as if the top of his head were glowing. Wow, he whispered, did you see what he just did? Yeah, said Annie. He must have watched the show you put on. He was proud of you. Well, he was proud of you too, Jack said modestly. Annie nodded smilingly. I guess it's time to leave now, she said. Leave, said Jack. We have to say goodbye now, said Annie. Goodbye, said Jack. He did not want to have to say goodbye to the gorillas. He loved them. They were totally great. Yeah, said Annie softly. Come on. She led the way back through the shrubs around the trees to the clearing. They found all the gorillas awake. Some were stretching and yawning, and others were munching on grass or leaves. The baby was back in his mother's arms. Boo Boo and Ho Ho were chattering away to their moms. They're probably telling them what I did, Jack thought. He and Annie walked over to Big Guy and stood in front of them. The other gorillas gathered around. We have to go now, Annie said to all of them. We have to say goodbye, said Jack. Thanks for letting us be part of your family, said Annie. She and Jack held up their hands and waved. The gorillas looked sad, and they murmured soft sounds. Big Eye lifted his hand in the air as if he were about to wave, but instead, the silverback raised his thumb, his index, and his pinky. I love you, the giant gorilla signed. Oh, look at that. That's so sweet. Jack couldn't believe his eyes, and Annie signed back, I love you, and Jack signed it too. The silverback stared at them for a long moment with a gentle, shy look. Then he turned away and gave a short bark to his family. Then all the gorillas lined up behind him. The baby's mother held her baby close. Ho Ho rode piggyback on his mom. Boo Boo held her mom's hand. The silverback started away from the clearing, and then the others followed him. Boo Boo was the only one who turned around and looked back. She screeched and she waved to Jack and Annie. Then she walked away out of sight. Jack couldn't talk. His heart was too full. He took a few steps in the direction of the gorillas. Hey, Annie said softly, you're going the wrong way. Jack looked back at her. No, the tree house is over there, she said. She pointed in the opposite direction at the tree house peeking out from the fog. Jack sighed. Then he turned and started to follow her out of the clearing. Oh, don't forget this, said Annie. She leaned over and picked up Jack's backpack from the grass, and she handed it to him. Thanks, he said, and they kept walking. And don't forget this, said Annie. She picked up Jack's jacket from under a tree, and she handed it to him. Thanks, said Jack. He tied his jacket around his waist, and they kept walking. And don't forget these, said Annie. She pointed to the flashlight and the umbrella. They lay on the grass under the wide, mossy limbs of a fat tree. Annie picked them up and carried them herself. It started to drizzle again just as she and Jack got to the rope ladder. They climbed up into the treehouse. When they got inside, they looked out the window. Jack hoped to catch one last glimpse of the gorilla family, but there was nothing to see. A white mist covered the cloud forest. Annie picked up the Pennsylvania book. She pointed to a picture of the Frog Creek woods. I wish we could go home, she said. Suddenly, a joyous screech rang out. The happy, wild sound shot through the white mist, through the cool rain, straight into Jack's heart. He opened his mouth to answer the call of the gorillas. But it was too late because the wind began to blow. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still, absolutely still. And that takes us to chapter 10 called A Special Magic. Tap, tap, tap. Jack opened his eyes. The Frog Creek woods were still dark and rainy. We're home, Annie said. Jack sighed. Oh, I miss them already. Me too, said Annie. Did you take a lot of notes on their habits and behavior? Jack shrugged. I listed a few things about them, he said, but sometimes lists don't tell you much. You really have to love gorillas to really know them. Yeah, that's right, said Annie. Jack opened his backpack and he pulled out their research book and he put it in the corner. Then he pulled out that twig that Ho-Ho had given him. And he smiled and showed it to Annie. I promised Ho-Ho that I would eat this twig later, he said, but I think we should save it for Morgan instead. Good idea, said Annie. It'll prove to her that we did find our special magic. Yeah, we found gorilla magic, said Jack. The magic of all the animals, said Annie. Yeah, said Jack. He placed the twig next to the scrolls that they had brought back from England. Let's go, said Annie as she started down. Jack pulled down his backpack and he put the flashlight in his pack. Then he grabbed the umbrella and followed Annie. They started through the Frog Creek woods. It was still cool and dark and rainy. Jack didn't mind, though. He didn't put on his jacket. He didn't even take out his flashlight. He didn't put up the umbrella. Jack felt as if he weren't completely human yet. There was still a bit of gorilla left in him. Ho, 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 he said in a low voice. Boo, boo, Annie said back. Huh, 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 they all said together. And that is the end of Magic Treehouse number 26. So that's number 26. And we finished it. And I do want to show you, I do have 27. Like I said, I brought home a few books from school. So Magic Treehouse number 27, which will start tomorrow, is called Thanksgiving on Thursday. So this is the one, and look at Jack and Annie's clothes that they're wearing. So it looks like they might be going back to the time maybe of the first Thanksgiving, maybe when there was the Pilgrims were learning how to survive. So we will have to wait until tomorrow to find out. So, all right, I hope you guys have a good day. Miss you, and I'll talk to you soon. Love you. Bye.